In this video, we're going to discuss how foreign key constraints work and what the difference is between a foreign key and a foreign key constraint. So let's start off by talking about what a foreign key is. A foreign key is a key or column. Key and column are the same thing. A foreign key is a column whose values are coming from some other column. Now typically that other column is in a different table, like we see here. Category ID is coming from the categories table. And I assume that because the names are the same, and I would assume that products are grouped into categories. That seems to be my only option, so I'm going to make that assumption. And since I know the data, I'm pretty sure that's correct. In fact, I am sure that's correct. Now, if I didn't know the data, I'd have to make the assumption and then go investigate to find out if it was true or not. But that's already been done. I know it's true. So these columns are related to each other. The categories column is going to be unique in that when I put data into that table, there should be a category ID value. Let me make a new query and I'll show you. Insert into categories, category name, and values. Cat A sounds good to me. And we'll look at the data that gets produced. Okay, let's put a value in there and we'll see. Now I have the auto number feature turned on. And so it has automatically inserted that value in there. Now if I look at the products table, I'm going to basically use the same code, so I'm going to copy and paste this. I'll change this to products. The product name is the column in there. And then that's followed up by, let's look at the diagram, followed up by the product name and then the category ID. Okay, that's really simple. Category ID. And so we'll call it prod A. Oops. Prod A and let's see, category 16. Now when I run this, it works, and I look down here, I can see my little product A, and it's category 16. But there's a problem with that. Problem is there's no such thing as category 16. This goes from 1 to 9, that's it. So while there is indeed a relationship between the category ID column and the products table and the categories ID column and the categories table, there's no enforcement mechanism. That is an issue. It's also true that if I try to delete a value from categories, it lets me do it. Category 2 is gone, but now in my products table, there is a bunch of category 2s that have no significance. They have no meaning because there is no category 2 anymore. So while there is indeed a foreign key between the two tables, this is a foreign key coming from the categories table, there's no enforcement mechanism. So what we typically do is we enforce the relationship by creating the tables, and then after the tables are created, we can put a primary key constraint on a table. Like here I've got a primary key constraint on the categories table. What that does is it enforces unique values. And the reason for that is I don't want to have duplicate IDs in here. It would make it near impossible for me to do a lookup to figure out which one I'm talking about. So I need to have those unique. And typically the way we do the uniqueness is we enforce it with a primary key. And then once that's in place in the categories table, I go over to the products table and I create a foreign key constraint. That looks like this. And it says that the foreign key category ID in the products table references the category ID in the categories table. And so now if I run the code to create the database, I'll just drop it and recreate it with this code. The diagram is going to look a little bit different. It's going to have little icons for the primary keys I put on the table. And it's also going to have a little line indicating that there is a foreign key constraint, enforcing the rules that a category ID and the categories table must exist before you can put it in the products table. And if you have a value in the categories table, category ID table, you can't delete it if it would orphan the value in the products table. And I can see this mechanism this time by going through and saying, okay, let's try to insert a new category, category A. It's fine to do that, but let's try to do a deletion. Can't do it. And the reason for that is it would orphan all these rows that have a value of 2. If I deleted that category ID of 2, it wouldn't have any significance in the products table. Also, I can't put in a category ID of 16 in the products table because that would be meaningless. There's no 16 in the categories table. So the rules are, you can't delete a value from the parent table. Parent table is the one that has unique ID values. If it would orphan values in the child table. The child table is the one that has the many part of the relationship, the value, the foreign key column. And you can't add in a value in the child column if it doesn't exist in the parent column. Now typically when we have these relationships, they are between tables, although it's possible for them to between two columns in the same table. The relationship is really between columns, not tables. It just happens that the columns that we relate to each other are typically in different tables. But that's it. That's what a foreign key constraint is. You can have a foreign key without having a foreign key constraint. But it's nice to have the foreign key constraint because it constrains you from doing things that would break the relationship. That's the name, a foreign key constraint. So hopefully that makes sense, and hopefully that was helpful to you. Thanks for watching. Take care.